Captain Day One stood on the bridge of the eternal horizon, watching the stars stretch across the view screen. His crew had been exploring the Kepler 442 system for 3 weeks now, mapping planets and scanning for resources. It was supposed to be a routine mission, the kind humanity had done 100 times before. "Captain, we have multiple contacts dropping out of faster-than-light travel," Lieutenant Taemin called from the tactical station. His voice was tight with concern. 20 ships, unknown configuration. They're forming a blockade pattern around us. Day One felt his stomach drop. Humanity had never encountered another intelligent species before. They had dreamed of this moment, prepared for it, hoped it would be peaceful. He straightened his uniform and nodded to his communications officer. "Open a channel, all frequencies. Let's say hello properly." Dr. G1 moved to stand beside him. As the chief xenobiologist and first contact specialist, she had trained for this moment her entire career. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her data pad. "Remember the protocols, Captain. Peaceful intentions, cultural exchange, mutual benefit." "I know, Doctor. Let's hope they're as friendly as we are." The view screen flickered and an alien face appeared. The being had 4 eyes arranged vertically on its face, skin that looked like polished bronze, and a mouth that seemed too wide. It wore elaborate armor decorated with symbols that probably meant something important in its culture. "Primitive vessel," the alien spoke, and somehow the computer translated its words instantly. "I am Ambassador Veloth of the Galactic Council. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Your species has been observed and judged. You are to cease all expansion beyond your home system immediately." Day One blinked. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. "Ambassador Veloth, I am Captain Day One of the human exploration vessel Eternal Horizon. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your council. We mean no harm to anyone." Veloth's 4 eyes seemed to focus on him with something like disgust. "Your intentions are irrelevant. The council has rules. New species do not expand without permission. You will return to your home world and await our judgment. This may take several of your generations. You will not leave your star system until we decide you are worthy. With respect, Ambassador, humanity is a free species. We don't require anyone's permission to explore space. We're willing to negotiate, to establish treaties, to work together. But we won't be prisoners in our own solar system." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Free? You are children playing with technology you barely understand. The Council has maintained order in this galaxy for 10,000 years. 200 species have learned to obey our wisdom. You will be the 201st. Dr. G1 stepped forward. "Ambassador, perhaps we can discuss this diplomatically. We have much to offer. Human art, music, science, culture. We could benefit from cultural exchange. Your culture?" Veloth's voice dripped with contempt. "We have seen your broadcasts. Violence, warfare, primitive emotions. You are barely better than animals. The Council sees no value in anything you possess. You will submit or you will be made to submit." Day One felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced it down. "Stay calm, stay diplomatic. Ambassador, we're willing to discuss reasonable terms, but we won't surrender our freedom. Surely the Council understands the value of peaceful cooperation. The Council understands that young species must be controlled before they become dangerous. Your kind breeds too fast, expands too quickly, and shows alarming signs of aggression. You will be contained. This is not a negotiation. This is an order." Lieutenant Taemin looked at his captain with worry in his eyes. The tactical display showed the Council ships moving into attack positions. "Captain, they're charging weapons." "Ambassador, please," Day One said urgently. "Don't do this. We can find a peaceful solution. You had your chance to be peaceful. You refused to obey. The Council has a policy for species like yours. Lesson first, negotiation later." Veloth leaned forward, his 4 eyes gleaming. "Congratulations, human. You just declared war on the most merciless species ever known. We have crushed empires that lasted longer than your entire civilization. We have burned worlds that defied us. And now you will learn what happens to those who refuse the Council's wisdom." "Wait," Day One started to say, but the transmission cut off. "They're firing," Taemin shouted. Energy beams lanced through space, striking the Eternal Horizon's escort ships. The destroyer Incheon exploded in a flash of light. The frigate Busan tried to evade, but 3 beams caught it amidships, tearing it apart. 17 ships, 17 crew members on each. 300 people died in seconds. Evasive maneuvers. Day One ordered. "Get us out of here. Maximum speed." The Eternal Horizon's engines roared to life. The ship shook as energy beams passed close, scorching the hull. More shots followed and alarms blared across the bridge. One beam struck their starboard side and the ship lurched violently. Hull breach on decks 5 and 6. Someone called out. We've lost forward shields. Keep going. Daewon gripped his chair as the ship accelerated. Taemin, return fire. Everything we have. Our weapons won't even scratch them, sir. I don't care. Show them we won't run without fighting back. The Eternal Horizon's missiles launched, streaking toward the Council fleet. Most were destroyed by defensive systems, but a few struck home, causing minor damage to one ship. It wasn't much, but it was something. Dr. Ji-won worked frantically at a console. I'm launching all our first contact data, boys. If we don't make it, at least Earth will know what happened here. The ship jumped to faster than light speed and the stars blurred around them. Behind them, the Council fleet didn't pursue. They had made their point. In the sudden quiet of FTL travel, Daewon looked around his bridge. His crew was shaken, scared, and angry. 300 good people were dead. People with families, with dreams, with futures, all gone because humanity had dared to say no to a bully. Get me a connection to Earth, Daewon said quietly. Command needs to know what happened. They need to know that we're at war. Sir, Taemin said, his voice hollow. They killed our people without warning, without mercy. They didn't even try to negotiate. I know. What kind of species does that? Daewon stared at the view screen, at the stars rushing past. He thought about Veloth's words. Merciless species. They thought that was them. They thought they were the monsters of this galaxy. They had no idea what they had just done. They had attacked humanity. Not just attacked them, but insulted them, threatened them, killed their people without cause. They thought humans would surrender, would cower, would beg for mercy. They were about to learn something that every bully in human history had eventually learned. Humanity didn't start fights, but they sure as hell finished them. Lieutenant, Daewon said, his voice hard as steel, when you send that message to Earth, make sure they include everything. Every word Veloth said, every threat he made, every insult, yes, sir, but why? Because when this is over, when the Council is begging us to stop, I want them to remember who started this. I want everyone to know that we tried peace. We offered friendship, and they chose war. The Eternal Horizon raced toward home carrying news that would change humanity forever. Behind them, the Council celebrated an easy victory over primitives who dared to defy them. They had no idea that they had just made the worst mistake in galactic history. The Council chamber on Axios Prime was a massive structure built from crystal and stone that had stood for 3,000 years. Inside, representatives from 43 species sat in tiered rows, discussing the matter of the humans. High Chancellor Thexara presided over the meeting from an elevated throne, his ancient body supported by anti-gravity technology. The human infestation has been addressed, War Master Krell announced, standing at the center of the chamber. His species was tall and muscular, bred for warfare over countless generations. Their exploration vessel has fled back to their home system. 3 of their escort ships were destroyed. Minimal resistance was encountered. Counselor Nim, a being that resembled a floating collection of crystalline structures, pulsed with a worried light. High Chancellor, I must voice concern. The humans responded to our ultimatum with refusal. This is unusual for a species at their development level. Texara's voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. Counselor Nim, in my 500 years of service to this council, I have heard this concern 37 times. Every species claims to be different, special, unique. None have withstood us. The humans will learn, just as all the others learned. War Master Krell projected a holographic display showing humanity's colonies. 17 settlements spread across 6 star systems, each marked with red indicators. The human population is approximately 19 billion. They have colonized at an aggressive rate over the past century. Their technology is approximately 400 years behind Council standard. Their military consists of patrol ships and defense platforms. Nothing that poses a genuine threat. What of their culture? Nim asked. Have we studied their psychological profile? A cultural analyst stepped forward, a being with tentacles and multiple sensor organs. We have intercepted their entertainment broadcasts. They are a violent species obsessed with warfare and conflict. However, they are also disorganized and emotional. Their governments argue constantly. Their populations protest decisions. Their military forces are scattered across multiple systems. They lack the unity that would make them dangerous. Krell nodded in agreement. We estimate total victory within 6 months. I propose a three-pronged assault. First, we destroy their outer colonies to demonstrate our power. Second, we establish a blockade around their homeworld. Third, we demand surrender. They will comply, and if they don't, Nim asked quietly, then we reduce their population to manageable levels. Perhaps a few million survivors, enough to maintain their culture but not enough to pose a future threat. It is a standard procedure. We have done it before. Texara leaned forward. How many ships do you require, War Master? For humans? 500 vessels should be more than sufficient. We will keep our main fleet in reserve for actual threats. There was laughter in the chamber. 500 ships for primitives who still used chemical rockets to launch satellites. It was overkill, but the council liked to be thorough. Nim pulsed again, more urgently this time. High Chancellor, I request permission to present additional data about human psychology. Very well, Counselor. But be brief. Nim's crystalline body projected images into the air. Scenes from human history played out for the council to see. Ancient battles, world wars, desperate last stands against impossible odds. Humans have a disturbing pattern in their history. When faced with extinction, they do not surrender. They fight. They have a concept they call fighting to the last man. They have repeatedly chosen annihilation over submission. Primitive bravado, the cultural analyst dismissed. All species posture. When faced with real power, they kneel. But look at this, Nim insisted. The projection showed a city in ruins, burning from bombardment. This is from their Second World War. 2 nations fought each other with such intensity that they destroyed entire cities. When one side developed atomic weapons, they used them, and the attacked nation still did not surrender for several days afterward. Even after 2 cities were vaporized, they continued fighting. They fought each other, Krell said. Internal conflicts prove nothing about how they will face a superior external threat. There is more. Nim showed another scene. This is their literature, their entertainment. Stories about last stands, about fighting impossible odds, about sacrifice. They have a word, Alamo, that represents a doomed battle where every defender died but became legendary. They celebrate defeat if it was defiant enough. They glorify resistance, Thexera waved a dismissive hand. Every species has pride, Counselor. It breaks when confronted with reality. The humans will see our fleets and understand the futility of resistance. I fear we are making a mistake, Nim said. We should negotiate, establish terms they can accept. Contain them peacefully. Negotiation. Krell's voice filled with contempt. Ambassador Veloth attempted negotiation. The humans refused our generous offer to merely restrict them to their home system. They chose defiance. Now they will learn the cost. The vote was called. The council approved War Master Krell's plan by overwhelming majority. Only Nim and 2 other counselors voted against it. 500 ships were allocated. The timeline was set. In 3 weeks, the first attacks would begin. Far away on Earth, the mood was very different. The Eternal Horizon had arrived home, and Captain Daewon's report had reached every government, every news network, every citizen. The human reaction was not what the council expected. Admiral Daewon, promoted after his ordeal, stood before the United Earth Assembly. Every nation's representative was present, and for once there was no arguing, no debate, no political maneuvering. The chamber was silent as he spoke. They killed 300 of our people without warning, Daewon said, his voice steady. They insulted our culture, our intelligence, our right to exist as a free species. They gave us a choice, surrender our freedom or die. They believe we will choose surrender. And what do we choose? The assembly chair asked. Daewon looked at the representatives from every human nation, every colony, every settlement. He saw anger in their eyes, determination, something that the council had never seen before in a species facing their might. We choose to show them what humans are, Daewon said. They wanted peace. They got humans. The vote was unanimous. Every nation, every colony, every settlement agreed. Humanity would mobilize for total war, not a limited conflict, not a negotiated peace. Totalva, the kind of war humanity had spent the last century avoiding, because they knew how terrible it was. Emergency measures passed in hours that would have taken years in peacetime. Every shipyard was converted to military production. Every resource was diverted to the war effort. Conscription began across all colonies. Scientific research focused entirely on weapons and defenses. Dr. Sung Ho, one of Earth's leading physicists, stood in a laboratory surrounded by weapons designs that had been theoretical until now. "We have 3 months before they attack," he said to his team. "We need to build everything we never wanted to build. Nuclear missiles, kinetic kill vehicles, chemical weapons, biological weapons if necessary, everything." "Sir," one of his assistants said hesitantly, "some of these weapons are banned by international law." "There are no laws in survival," Sung-Ho replied. "The Council wants to exterminate us or enslave us. We will fight with every weapon we can create, every tactic we can devise, every ounce of hate we can muster. Start building." Across human space, the transformation was incredible. Civilian ships were retrofitted with weapons. Asteroid mines became weapons factories. Orbital stations became missile platforms. Children were evacuated from frontier colonies. Soldiers trained for zero-gravity combat, boarding actions, and guerrilla warfare. The Council's intelligence network noticed the activity. Reports filtered back to Axios Prime about increased industrial production, military mobilization, and fleet construction. War Master Krell reviewed the data and laughed. "Let them build their toys," he said to his staff. "It changes nothing. In 6 months the humans will be a memory." But Counselor Nim, studying the same data, felt something the Council had not felt in centuries. Fear. The humans were not acting like a species preparing to surrender. They were acting like a species preparing to fight to the death. And if there was one thing that made humans dangerous, it was that they had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other. Now, for the first time in their history, humanity was united against a common enemy. The Council was about to learn that there is nothing more dangerous than prey that decides to become predator. The Council fleet arrived at New Sol Colony precisely on schedule. 500 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready. War Master Krell sat in his command ship, confident that this would be the first and last battle of the war. New Sol was humanity's third-largest colony, home to 4 million people. From orbit, it looked peaceful. Cities sprawled across 2 continents connected by transport networks. Farms covered the fertile valleys. It should have been an easy target. "Begin bombardment," Krell ordered. "Target military installations first, then infrastructure. We will give them 1 hour to surrender before we target population centers." The fleet's weapons opened fire. Energy beams lanced down toward the planet's surface, striking at defense platforms and military bases. Explosions bloomed across the landscape as the Council's superior technology tore through human defenses. Then the humans fired back. "Sir, we're detecting missile launches from the surface," Krell's tactical officer reported. "Thousands of them. Primitive rockets," Krell dismissed. "Our point defenses will handle them." But these weren't primitive rockets. They were nuclear missiles, launched from hidden silos across the planet. And there weren't thousands. There were tens of thousands. The humans had spent 3 months building nothing but weapons, and now they unleashed everything. The Council ship's defensive systems engaged, destroying most of the missiles. But not all. Nuclear explosions rippled through the fleet as missiles struck home. Ships that had served for centuries suddenly found their shields overwhelmed, their hulls breached, their crews exposed to radiation and vacuum. "Impossible," Krell shouted. "How do they have so many weapons?" The answer became clear as more missiles launched. Not from the planet's surface this time, but from the asteroid belt. From hidden positions throughout the system, the humans had turned every rock, every station, every possible hiding place into a weapons platform. Then the civilian ships attacked. Hundreds of cargo vessels, passenger liners, and transport ships suddenly accelerated toward the Council fleet. They weren't fleeing. They were attacking, each one packed with explosives piloted by volunteers who had no intention of surviving. "They're ramming us," the tactical officer screamed. "The civilian ships are ramming us!" Krell watched in horror as a human cargo ship, burning from a dozen hits, slammed into a Council destroyer at full speed. The resulting explosion destroyed both vessels instantly. More ships followed, crashing into the Council fleet like guided missiles made of metal and desperation. "Sir, we need to withdraw," his second-in-command urged. "We've lost 40 ships already." "This isn't supposed to happen." "No," Krell snarled. "We have 500 ships. They're primitives. Maintain bombardment. Destroy everything." On the planet's surface, the battle was even worse. Council ground forces had landed, expecting to face disorganized resistance. Instead, they walked into hell. The humans fought from every building, every tunnel, every crater. They used chemical weapons, biological agents, and booby traps that would have been banned by any civilized species. Colonel Haijin led a group of commandos through the underground tunnels beneath New Seoul's capital. She had been a special forces operator before the war, trained in every form of combat humanity had devised. Now she put that training to use. Remember, she told her team, they want to capture this city intact. We're going to make sure there's nothing left for them to capture. Her team carried fusion charges powerful enough to level city blocks. They placed them at key points throughout the tunnel network, beneath power plants and water treatment facilities. When the council troops moved in to secure the city, Haijin triggered the charges. The explosions collapsed entire districts. Council soldiers died by the thousands, buried under rubble or incinerated by fusion fire. The humans didn't care that they were destroying their own city. If the council wanted New Seoul, they would inherit ruins. Captain Bitna commanded the human destroyer Gwangju, one of the few military ships that hadn't been destroyed in the opening salvos. Her ship was damaged, her crew reduced to less than half strength and her weapons nearly exhausted. A rational commander would have retreated, but Bitna wasn't interested in being rational. She had watched the council kill her sister colony from orbit. She had listened to the screams on the radio as cities burned. Now she was going to make them pay. "All hands, this is the captain," she announced over the ship-wide intercom. "We have one shot left. We can run or we can take one of their big ships with us. I'm not ordering anyone to stay. If you want to evacuate, do it now." Nobody left the ship. Her crew of 300 stayed at their posts, knowing what was about to happen. They were all going to die. But they were going to die as humans, fighting to the last breath. The Gwangju accelerated toward a council battlecruiser, dodging defensive fire with desperate maneuvers. Energy beams scored the hull, melting armor and venting atmosphere. The ship was dying, but it kept going. When they were too close for the battlecruiser to avoid, Bitna activated the ship's self-destruct. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The Gwangju and the battlecruiser vanished in a flash of nuclear fire. 300 humans traded their lives for 10,000 council crew. It was a bargain humanity was willing to make. The battle for New Seoul lasted 6 days. When it ended, the colony was destroyed. The council had won technically. They controlled the orbital space and the ruins of the planet. But the cost was staggering. They had lost 123 ships. More than 20,000 crew were dead. For one colony. War Master Krell stood in his command center, staring at the casualty reports with disbelief. His species had fought wars for thousands of years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had never lost so many ships in a single battle. "What are these creatures?" he asked quietly. "They fought like demons. They destroyed their own cities rather than let us take them. Their civilians piloted ships into our fleet. What kind of species does this?" His tactical officer pulled up a recording from one of the ground battles. A council squad had captured a human soldier, a young lieutenant named Subin. They had interrogated her, hoping to understand human strategy. The recording played. Subin was injured, bleeding from multiple wounds, but her eyes were clear and filled with hatred. "You wanted to know why we fight," she said to her captors. "Because you started this war. You killed our people for the crime of saying no. Now you'll learn what humans are. We don't stop. We don't forgive. We don't forget. Every one of your ships we destroy, we'll build 2 more. Every soldier you kill, 10 more will volunteer. You think you're fighting a war. You're not. You're fighting extinction. Your extinction, because we will never stop. Never." The recording ended with Subin triggering a hidden explosive, killing herself and her captors. Krell felt something he had never experienced in his long military career. Fear, not of defeat in a tactical sense, but something worse. Fear that the council had unleashed something terrible, something that would not stop until one side was completely destroyed. "Send a report to the High Chancellor," Krell ordered. "Tell him we need more ships. Tell him the humans are not what we thought they were." Across human space, the message was spreading. The words became a motto, painted on ships, carved into ammunition, tattooed on soldiers' skin. They wanted war. Now they'll learn what humans are. In the military academies on Earth, Dr. Sung-ho taught new tactics to officers. "The Council expects us to fight like civilized beings," he said. "They expect rules, honor, mercy. Give them none of these things. Use every weapon, accept any casualties, destroy everything they value. Make them regret the day they met us. The doctrine was simple and terrible. No prisoners. No quarter, no mercy. Total war in its most absolute form. Humanity had tried peace. The Council rejected it. Now humanity would show them what happened when you backed a peaceful species into a corner. The Council was learning a lesson that would cost them everything. They had declared war on humans expecting submission. Instead, they got something far worse. They got humanity's full attention, and humanity's full attention was a terrifying thing. War Master Krell sent his final report to the High Chancellor before moving the fleet to attack the next human colony. The report contained one sentence that would echo through Council history. We didn't declare war on a species. We declared war on the concept of mercy itself. 18 months into the war, the Council faced a reality they had never imagined. They were losing. Not slowly, not gradually, but definitively. The species that was supposed to surrender within 6 months had instead become their worst nightmare. High Chancellor Thexara reviewed the casualty reports in his private chambers. The numbers were staggering. 40% of the Council fleet was destroyed. Thousands of ships, millions of crew members, and the humans kept fighting. Counselor Nim appeared at his door, his crystalline form pulsing with urgency. High Chancellor, we must discuss peace negotiations immediately. Peace? Thexara's voice was hollow. After all we have done to them? Because of all we have done to them, we must try. The humans have lost 6 colonies and 2 billion people, but they have not weakened. They have grown stronger, more determined, more brutal. Our intelligence reports are terrifying. NIME projected data into the air. Images of human shipyards working at impossible speeds. Massive factories churning out weapons. Training camps filled with soldiers. The industrial capacity was overwhelming. In 18 months, they have built 800 new warships, Nim explained. We thought it would take them years to replace their losses. They did it in months. They have converted their entire civilization to war production. Every resource, every person, every moment dedicated to destroying us. Impossible. No species can sustain that level of mobilization. Humans can. They have done it before in their world wars. They know how to transform peaceful societies into war machines. And now they have done it on a galactic scale. Admiral Daewon stood in the command center of the human flagship Indomitable, watching tactical displays that showed something the Council feared. The human counteroffensive had begun. No longer defending their colonies, humanity was attacking Council territory. General Myung-dae worked beside him, planning ground assaults on Council worlds. We have identified 12 core Council colonies, Myung-dae said. These are not military targets. These are their civilians, their families, their homeworlds. And you're proposing we attack them? Daewon asked. I'm proposing we show them what they showed us. They destroyed New Seoul. They killed our civilians without mercy. Now they will learn what that feels like. Daewon was silent for a moment. He had been a peaceful man once, an explorer who wanted to see the stars and meet new species. The Council had turned him into something else. Something harder, something capable of terrible decisions. Do it, he ordered. Target their colonies. Show them that we can reach their homes just as easily as they reached ours. Intelligence Officer Jae-hwa entered the command center with urgent news. She was young, brilliant, and had just accomplished something incredible. Admiral, I've cracked their navigation database. We have the location of Axios Prime, their capital world. Daewon leaned forward. Are you certain? Absolutely. It's heavily defended, but we know where it is. We can strike at the heart of their empire. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. If humans could threaten the Council's homeworld, the war's entire nature would change. The predator would become the prey. Prepare a strike force, Daewon ordered. We're going to send them a message they can't ignore. On Axios Prime, the Council convened an emergency session. Counselor Nim stood at the center, pleading for sanity. We must offer peace negotiations. The humans have proven they will not surrender. They will fight until one side is completely destroyed. We cannot negotiate from a position of weakness, Thexara insisted. It would show the entire galaxy that the Council can be defeated. The galaxy already knows we can be defeated, Nim replied. The humans have broadcast evidence of every battle, every loss, every failure. 43 species are watching us lose to primitives. Some of our subject species are already rebelling, inspired by human resistance. War Master Krell, broken by 18 months of impossible warfare, added his voice. Counselor Nim is correct. I have fought the humans for 18 months. I have watched them do things no rational species would do. They crash ships into our vessels. They detonate nuclear weapons in their own cities to deny us victory. They send soldiers on suicide missions without hesitation. Every tactic we use, they counter with something more extreme. Then we must be more extreme than they are, Thexara argued. We can't, Krell said quietly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There is no tactic too extreme for humans. We tried bombing their civilians, they bombed ours harder. We tried blockades, they broke them with suicide runs. We tried ground invasions. They used weapons so terrible that our soldiers refused to fight. We cannot out-brutal humans. It is not possible. On Earth, the government faced a terrible decision. Dr. Sung Ho presented Project Cleansing Fire to the War Cabinet. The name alone made people uncomfortable. The details made them sick. Project Cleansing Fire is designed to end the war, Sung Ho explained. We will target every council colony world simultaneously. Not military targets, civilian populations. We will use every weapon we have, nuclear, biological, chemical. We will kill billions in a coordinated strike. That's genocide, one cabinet member said quietly. Yes, Sung Ho agreed. It is. But the council has made it clear they intend to either enslave us or exterminate us. We have tried conventional warfare. They keep fighting. This will break their will to continue. The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. They were about to become the monsters that the council had always claimed they were. But in a war for survival, morality was a luxury they could not afford. Admiral Daewon received the authorization codes for Project Cleansing Fire and felt his soul grow heavier. He had studied history, knew about the terrible things humans had done to each other in the past. Now they were going to do those things to another species on a scale never before imagined. How many? He asked quietly. Conservative estimates suggest 4 to 6 billion casualties in the first wave, Jaehua replied. If we execute the full plan, we could reduce the council's population by half within a month. Daewon closed his eyes. 6 billion lives, families, children, innocents who had nothing to do with the decision to attack humanity. But War Master Krell had killed 2 billion humans without hesitation. How many more would die if the war continued? Prepare the fleet, he ordered. We launch in 72 hours. Word leaked to the council through their intelligence networks. Counselor Nim appeared before the High Chancellor one final time, his crystalline body pulsing with desperate urgency. They are going to attack our civilian populations, Nim said. All of them, simultaneously. They have the weapons, the ships, and the will to do it. High Chancellor, we must negotiate now, today, before it is too late. They are bluffing, Thexara insisted. No species would commit such an atrocity. You still don't understand, Nim said. Humans will do anything to survive, anything. They have proven this again and again. We attacked them without cause, killed their people without mercy, and now they will repay us in kind. We created this monster. Now it is going to destroy us unless we stop it. The human fleet assembled in secret. Thousands of ships carrying weapons that should never have been built. Soldiers prepared for missions they hoped they would never have to complete. Pilots programmed targeting coordinates for cities filled with civilians. And across human space, a new philosophy had taken hold. It was written in military manuals, taught in academies, and whispered among soldiers. When facing extinction, mercy is suicide. We choose survival. Captain Bitna's sacrifice at New Sol had inspired a generation. Dozens of ships were named after her. Her final transmission had been recorded and played at military graduations. We choose to fight. We choose to win. We choose survival, no matter the cost. The Council's empire was crumbling. Subject species, seeing humanity's success, began their own rebellions. Council forces were stretched thin, fighting on multiple fronts. Ships that should have been fighting humans were instead suppressing uprisings on worlds that had been peaceful for centuries. War Master Krell sent his final report to the High Chancellor. It was 3 sentences long. The humans are preparing to annihilate us. We cannot stop them. We must surrender or face extinction. The tide had turned completely. The species that was supposed to be easy prey had become an unstoppable predator, and the Council, for the first time in 10,000 years, faced the real possibility of complete defeat. 2.5 years after the war began, the human fleet surrounded Axios Prime. 10,000 warships filled the orbital space around the Council's throne world, their weapons aimed at the planet below. On the surface, 3 billion council citizens waited to learn their fate. Admiral Daewon stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the world he had the power to destroy. Project Cleansing Fire was ready. One order, and every major city on that planet would burn. Billions would die. The council would be broken forever. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," HFY reported. "High Chancellor Thexara is requesting a meeting." "After all this, now they want to talk," General Myung-dae said bitterly. "When they attacked us, they didn't offer meetings. They offered death or slavery." "I know," Daewon replied. "But we're not them." "Arrange the meeting." Neutral location. Full security. The meeting took place on a council space station that had been evacuated. Admiral Daewon entered with a security detail, facing High Chancellor Thexara across a metal table. The ancient alien looked diminished, his confidence shattered by 2 years of impossible war. Counselor Nim and Ambassador Veloth accompanied him. Veloth, who had started this war with his arrogance, could not meet Daewon's eyes. The ambassador who had called humans primitives now faced the reality of what humanity had become. "Admiral," Thexara began, "the Council requests peace negotiations." "Requests?" Daewon's voice was cold. "You killed 17 billion of my people. You destroyed 9 of our colonies. You called us primitives, animals, unworthy of freedom. And now you request peace?" "We made a mistake," Thexara admitted. The words seemed to pain him physically. "We underestimated your species. We were wrong." "Wrong?" General Myung-dae laughed harshly. "You weren't wrong. You were evil. You attacked peaceful explorers without warning. You rejected every attempt at negotiation. You forced us to become what we are now." Ambassador Jinnah, humanity's diplomatic representative, placed a hand on Myung-dae's arm. She had spent 2 years watching her species transform from peaceful explorers into merciless warriors. The cost of that transformation haunted her. "High Chancellor," Jinnah said calmly, "humanity is willing to discuss peace. But understand our position. We have your home world surrounded. We have weapons capable of killing every living being on that planet. We have the will to use them. The question is not whether we can destroy you. The question is whether we choose to show mercy." "Mercy," Veloth whispered. The word seemed foreign in his mouth. "Yes, mercy," Daewon said. "Something you never offered us. Something you thought was weakness. Now you're about to learn that mercy is a gift from the strong, not a refuge for the weak." Thexara leaned forward. "What are your terms?" Ambassador Jinnah opened a datapad and projected the human demands into the air. As each point appeared, the council representatives' expressions grew darker. Total disarmament of all council military forces. Reparations for the destruction of human colonies. War crime trials for those who ordered attacks on civilian populations. The dissolution of the Galactic Council as a governing body. And permanent human oversight of any future interspecies organization. "You want to destroy everything we built," Thexara said. "You built an empire on bullying and threats," Jinnah replied. "You maintained order through fear. 43 species bowed to you because they had no choice. Now they have a choice because we gave them one. Half your subject species are already independent, inspired by our resistance." "If we accept these terms," Counselor Nim asked, "will you spare our people?" "Yes," Daewon said. "We will spare your civilians. We will allow your species to survive, to rebuild, to exist. But you will never again have the power to threaten anyone." "And if we refuse?" Veloth asked, finding his voice. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. Admiral Daewon gestured to the view screen, which showed the human fleet surrounding the planet. "Then we proceed with Project Cleansing Fire. Every major city on this planet will be destroyed within an hour. 4 billion of your people will die. We will then move to your other core worlds and repeat the process. We will not stop until your species is reduced to scattered survivors living in ruins." "You would commit genocide?" Thexara asked. "You forced us to become capable of it," General Myung-dae said. "You taught us that mercy equals death. You showed us that the only language bullies understand is overwhelming force. We learned your lessons well." Counselor Nim's crystalline body pulsed with resignation. "High Chancellor, we must accept. We attacked them because we thought they were weak. We learned they are only merciful when they choose to be. If we refuse now, they will destroy us, and they will be justified in doing so, by the very precedent we ourselves established." Thexara looked at his advisors, at the human representatives, at the fleet visible through the viewport. He had lived for 500 years, had seen the Council conquer worlds and civilizations. Now in his final years he was witnessing its end. "We accept your terms," he said quietly. The Treaty of Terra was signed 3 days later. The Council's military was disbanded. Their war criminals were arrested and tried. Reparations began flowing to human colonies. The Galactic Council ceased to exist, replaced by a new confederacy that gave all species equal voice. But victory felt hollow to those who understood the cost. Admiral Day-Wan stood in his quarters after the signing ceremony, looking at casualty lists that seemed endless. 17 billion humans dead, entire colonies gone, families destroyed, children orphaned, all because the Council had been too arrogant to accept that other species deserved freedom. Commander Wu Jin, a young officer who had fought through the entire war, found him there. "Sir, is it over? Have we really won?" "We've won the war," Day-Wan replied. "Whether we've won anything else, I don't know." "What do you mean?" Day-Wan gestured to the window, where Axios Prime rotated slowly below. "We came to the stars to explore, to learn, to make friends. We met the Council and they turned us into a species capable of threatening genocide. Was that victory or defeat?" "We survived," Wu Jin said. "Isn't that what matters? Survival is necessary. But what kind of species are we now? We used weapons we swore we'd never build. We killed civilians. We became the monsters we always feared. They gave us no choice, I know. That's what makes it worse. We did terrible things because they were necessary, and now we have to live with that. On Earth, monuments were being built to honor the dead. 17 billion names carved in stone, the largest memorial in human history. People came from across human space to walk through the halls, to touch the names, to remember. The main inscription read, "They thought we would break. They learned humans don't break. If we break others first." Ambassador Jinnah stood before the memorial reading the names. So many names. So many lives lost because the Council couldn't accept that humans deserved freedom. She had spent 2 years watching her species fight a war they never wanted, using methods they had spent centuries trying to outgrow. Was it worth it? Someone asked beside her. She turned to see Dr. Song Ho, the man who had designed many of the weapons that made victory possible. "What do you think?" Jinnah asked. "I think we had no choice," Sung Ho said. "But I also think we lost something important. We lost our innocence. We learned that we're capable of terrible things when threatened. Every human knows that now." "Maybe that's not entirely bad," Jinnah suggested. "Maybe the galaxy needed to learn that peaceful species have limits. That there are lines you don't cross. Perhaps, but I wonder what happens next. We're the dominant military power now. Who keeps us in check?" "We keep ourselves in check," Jinnah said firmly. "We remember what it felt like to be attacked without cause. We remember the cost of this war, and we make sure we never become what the Council was." Across the galaxy, the news spread. Humanity had defeated the Council. Species that had been subjects for centuries were now free. Some celebrated, others worried. A few species looked at humanity with fear, wondering if they had merely traded one master for another. On Axios Prime, the Council's former subjects gathered to witness the transition of power. Commander Wu Jin represented humanity at the ceremony where the new confederacy was established. Leaders from dozens of species stood together, equals for the first time in millennia. An elderly council member approached Wu Jin after the ceremony. "Your species has changed the galaxy," she said. "We are grateful but also frightened. What will humanity do with its power?" "We'll do what we tried to do from the beginning," Wu Jin replied. "Explore, learn, make friends. But we'll also remember this war. If anyone threatens our freedom again, they'll face the same response. We offered the Council peace. They chose war. We won't make that mistake again. So humanity will be the new Council, enforcing order through strength?" "No," Wu Jin said firmly. "We'll be what the Council should have been. Partners, not masters. Friends, not tyrants. But yes, we'll be strong. Strong enough that no one dares to attack peaceful species. Strong enough that bullies think twice." Admiral Day-Wan's final report to the United Earth government summarized the war in simple terms. "The Council attacked us because they thought we were weak. They thought our desire for peace meant we couldn't fight. They learned the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war.